In the far north of Tamriel, buried beneath snow, stone, and secrets, lies something that should not exist. Not a dragon, not a Daedric relic, not even an Elder Scroll, but perhaps something older, stranger, a perfect sphere, pulsing with energy, scarred with ancient symbols, humming with silent intent. The mages who found it called it a miracle, the Psijic Order called it dangerous, and the world came to know it as the Eye of Magnus. A name, but not an answer. So what is it really? A god's lost eye? A collapsed sun? The blueprints of the universe? Or something far more terrifying? Something Skyrim never meant for us to find? Let's unravel the mystery. Before we can understand the Eye of Magnus, we must first trace its echoes through time, myth, and memory. Before there was Skyrim, before there were Nords, there were the Atmorans, the first men to carve names into the ice. They fled a dying homeland, torn by civil war, swallowed by cold. Among them was Ysgramor, a scholar, a scribe, not yet the name whispered in legend. And in the north, they found a place to begin, a city built not on power, but on hope, Saarthal. They cut through the bedrock, lit fires in the frost, and laid foundations meant to outlast their bones. But while carving their new home, they found something ancient. It wasn't gold or steel or even an artifact. It was a sphere, perfect, massive, alive with energy, buried beneath ice older than memory. They tried to understand it, but the more they studied it, the less they knew. So they sealed it away. But things buried do not always sleep. Something stirred in the mountains, or someone was watching. And one night, without warning, the Snow Elves attacked. Not to conquer, not to raid, but to erase. Saarthal burned, its walls collapsed, its people were slaughtered. Only 3 walked away, Ysgramor and his 2 sons, carrying nothing but ash, grief, and a memory. They fled across the Sea of Ghosts back to Atmora, but they did not stay. They returned with fire in their hearts, with war on their tongues, and 500 companions at their side. They tore through the Snow Elves and reclaimed Saarthal, brick by brick, stone by stone. But the Eye, they left it untouched, as if afraid to try. A scar in the bedrock, sealed in time. Thousands of years passed, empires rose, kingdoms crumbled, and still the Eye remained, until one day it was found again. Not by kings, not by the Thalmor, but by us, the Dragonborn. The College of Winterhold sent its students into the ruins of Saarthal, and there, beneath ancient rubble, we uncovered the impossible. The Eye, still intact, still pulsing, still waiting. They brought it to the Hall of the Elements, and from that moment on, things began to unravel. A figure stepped through the frozen silence. Quaranir, a monk of the Psijic Order.
This object, the Eye of Magnus, as your people have taken to calling it, the longer it remains here, the more dangerous the situation becomes.
And just like that, he was gone. But the Eye, it remained, watching, hungering, not for study, but for a vessel, and in time, one would come. That someone was Uncano, a Thalmor agent, sent not to learn, but to control. He studied the Eye in secret, watched it, spoke to it, and one day the Eye spoke back. It opened, and the world bent. A wall of magic engulfed the college. Magic anomalies spread like wildfire, and at its center stood Uncarno, bathed in light, crackling with stolen power. He was part of the storm now. No spell could stop him, no voice could reach him. Only one hope remained, an ancient tool lost to time, forged for moments like this, the Staff of Magnus. We braved Labyrinthian, its frost, its phantoms, its forgotten dead, and deep within its ruins we found it, the Staff of Magnus, a relic of godly power, the only force that could challenge the Eye. But when we returned, the college was in ruin. The air trembled with magic. Mages clashed with shapeless things, flickering, surging, breaking reality. And some had already fallen. Uncarno waited, a figure of raw power, woven into the chaos itself. But with the staff in hand, we struck. Light clashed with light, power with purpose, and inch by inch, the Eye gave way. The storm unraveled, Uncarno faltered, and then he was gone. The Psijics returned, 3 robed monks, composed, unshaken. They did not ask permission, they did not offer any answers, they simply took the Eye and vanished. To where, no one knows, but its echo lingers in Winterhold, in whispered dreams, and in the very threads of magic itself. The danger may have passed, but the mystery did not, because the Eye was never just an object. It was a question, a riddle written in Magicka, a secret too large to hold, and one we still don't understand, but now we're going to try. So let's start with the simplest answer, the boldest and perhaps the most unsettling. What if the Eye of Magnus is exactly what it sounds like? Not a name, not a metaphor, but an eye. The Eye of Magnus himself, the god of magic, the architect of Mundus, the one who designed the world and then abandoned it. When he fled creation, he tore a hole in the sky, the sun, and from that wound spilled Magicka, the lifeblood of the Arbis. Some say the stars are his children, others say they are cracks left behind as he escaped. But what if something else remained, a piece of him, present, listening? The connections are hard to ignore. Only the Staff of Magnus, said to be his, can seal the Eye, not a key, but a failsafe, and the runes etched across its surface, they match no known script, except faintly the Elder alphabet, the same cosmic language found on the Elder Scrolls. Language not meant for mortals, but for gods. But Magnus isn't just a god, he's a myth, and myths change depending on who tells them. The Khajiit tell a different version. In their stories, Magrus lost both his eyes. One was taken by Boethra, the other torn out by Azura, who shaped it into an ether prism, a crystal that reflects all possibility. But here's the mystery. The prism has never been found, never shown, never named beyond metaphor. So some whisper maybe it was never lost. Maybe it was waiting in Skyrim, not just connected to Magnus, but part of him, a living fragment of the god himself, torn out, left behind, or given as a gift, or a warning, or a test. A divine artifact too powerful for mortals and too dangerous to leave unguarded. And maybe that's why the Psijics came, not just to protect us from the Eye, but to protect the Eye from us. But not everyone sees a god. Some believe the Eye didn't belong to Magnus at all, that it wasn't divine or crafted, it simply fell from the sky. In Elder Scrolls lore, the sky is not empty. It's Aetherius, the realm of magic and starlight, and sometimes pieces of it break off. These shards, ethereal fragments, descend to Nirn as shooting stars, what we call meteors. But these aren't lifeless rocks, they hum with magicka. Ancient ruins still glow with their remnants, meteoric glass carved into Welkind and Vala stones, small, crystalline and alive with power. So imagine something larger, not a shard, but a core. A super Welkind, roughly the size of a carriage, perfectly spherical, nestled in layered crystal, a battery forged in the void. When the Atmorans dug beneath Sarthal, this is what they may have found. Not a relic, not a god's design, but a fallen star, still warm. It would explain much: the raw energy, the unstable emissions, the way even the Psijic Order fled from its presence. Because unlike an enchanted artifact, something made with purpose, a meteor doesn't do anything. It just is. It radiates blindly, brutally, indiscriminately. And that's where the Staff of Magnus enters the story. Not as a counterpart, not as a key, but as a regulator. A tool built not to command the eye, but to withstand it. To seal cosmic breaches, to absorb what should have never been released. The elves may have recognized this, understood its shape, its danger, its value. And the Night of Tears? Perhaps that wasn't conquest. It was containment or reclamation. A secret war over something that should have never touched the earth. But what if it wasn't just a meteor? What if it wasn't dead at all, but waiting? A star unborn. In Elder Scrolls lore, Magnus didn't just abandon Mundus. He tore through it, ripped a hole in creation so massive it became the sun. And through that wound, that radiant scar, flows all the magicka that fuels our world. The stars, they're smaller tears, fragments of the same flight, made by the Magna-Gi, Magnus's followers, as they escaped. So if suns and stars were born in the wake of their flight, what if the eye is something between? A fragment, a seed, a star, still waiting to ignite. The shape fits, a perfect sphere, suspended in stillness, brimming with light, yet never aflame. A sun frozen beneath the ice, and only one thing can stop it: the Staff of Magnus, like a control rod for a divine reactor. Tolfdir urges caution. Quaranir warns it could destroy the world, not metaphorically, literally. So some believe Magnus didn't just flee creation, he left something behind. A prototype, a backup sun, a divine engine stalled before ignition. Too powerful to destroy, too dangerous to complete, and far too unpredictable to leave exposed. But maybe we're asking the wrong question. Not what the eye is made of, but what it's for. Some theorists believe the Eye of Magnus isn't a relic of power, but a relic of information. A cosmic blueprint, not built, not found, but written. And there's precedent for this. The Elder Scrolls, the artifacts that bear their name, are not scrolls at all. They are fragments of creation, outside of time, bits of the divine made substance, not written by mortals, not even fully readable by gods. And yet they contain everything: past, future, and possibility. Schematics of what was, is, and might yet be. But the eye, it may be something more, not a fragment, but the source. Its inscribed shell, its rotating script, its logic etched into motion. It looks like magic, but it feels like code, like something waiting to be executed. The Dwemer understood this idea. They built vast machines to parse the Elder Scrolls, encoding lexicons, rotating orreries, systems designed to make sense of something never meant to be understood. But some believe those machines weren't just reading, they were imitating, echoing something older. So what if Elder Scrolls were never the final objective? What if they were just the tutorial level before the real program began? The Dwemer may have glimpsed the eye, and then tried to copy it, simulate it, and Unkano? Maybe he wasn't stealing power. Maybe he was triggering a command, calling a function in a system older than the world, and nearly crashing the entire thing. The staff didn't destroy the eye, it terminated the process, a forced shutdown. And when the system spiraled out of control, the Psijics didn't study it, they pulled the plug. So maybe it isn't a sun, a meteor, or an eye. Maybe it's a scroll that was never meant to be read, a reality file left open, waiting for someone foolish enough to start typing. But what if the eye wasn't just cosmic code, but structural code? Not a message from beyond, but a foundation of what is. In lore, the world is built on towers, not buildings, pillars of reality, frameworks that stabilize existence, like metaphysical scaffolding anchored by something even stronger, a stone. Every tower has one, a kind of keystone, an echo of the zero stone, the axis on which reality itself was first spun. Destroy the tower or remove the stone, and you risk unraveling the world. Now consider Snowthroat, the tower of Skyrim. Its physical form is said to be the throat of the world, the ancient mountain where dragons once ruled time itself. But unlike other towers, Snowthroat's stone is missing, or worse, unidentified. Some notes claim it's a cave, a hollow in the mountain, but even scholars admit no one really knows. And then there's the eye, ancient, titanic, buried beneath the ice since the Merethic era, dormant for millennia, yet pulsing with world-altering force. Quarrenier warned it could destroy the college, and the scale of its power suggests it could destroy far more. Its power feels foundational, like the kind of thing you don't build reality with, but lose it without. So some suggest a different story, that the eye wasn't always buried, that it wasn't even meant to be hidden, that it was once bound to Snowthroat itself, the true stone of the tower. And if that's true, if the eye was once fixed to the tower's foundation, then something went very, very wrong. Maybe it fell, maybe it was broken, maybe someone long ago tried to sever the tower from its source. If that's the case, then when the Psijics removed the eye, they didn't just stop on Carno, they pulled the keystone out of a tower and left Skyrim sundered, kingless, bleeding, just like the prophecy warned. And that raises a terrifying question. If Snowthroat is one of the towers holding up Mundus, what happens now that its stone is gone? Has the countdown already begun? Are we walking a world that's no longer stable? Or has it already started to crack?